So, good evening, everyone. I'm very pleased to welcome you at this session on real estate facing global structural changes, critical insights from Tokyo and Paris markets. So we are going to start with our two speakers plus our discussants. So today we are going to hear Professor Shimizu during about 30 minutes. Professor Shimizu is a professor at Hitotsubashi University in Tokyo, in Japan, and also a member of the Statistics Commission in Japan, and is also affiliate researcher of the Center of Real Estate at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And his areas of expertise are index theory, real estate economics, applied econometrics, and machine learning. He has published a lot of papers, articles, and books in Japan, but also abroad in English, Japanese, and different language. And the last book he published is Issues and Prospects of Real Estate Appraisal. Then we are going to listen to Arnaud Simon, who is an associate professor at Paris-Dauphine University in France, in Paris. His research focuses on the relationship between housing prices and demographics, especially aging, and on how investments and monetary decisions influence and determine local regional evolutions at the French and European levels. He wrote also a lot of articles in international peer-reviewed journals and is the co-author of an introduction to real estate finance and economics. And then we will hear our discussants for 10 to 15 minutes after the two presentations. So Yasmin Essafi-Zouari is an assistant professor at the American University in the Emirates in Dubai. And she was previously an associate professor at the École Supérieure des Professions Immobilières at Paris. She is doing quantitative research on globalized real estate markets in Europe and in the Emirates. And she is joining us from Dubai now.
Thank you for kind introduction, Rafael. I'm Chihiro Shimizu from Hitotsubashi University, Tokyo. It is great honor for me to talk about my latest research on the economic value of the environmentally friendly buildings. And my specialty field is not the construction or architectures. My special field is machine learning and mathematics and AI or artificial intelligence. So I would like to talk about my researches related to calculate or measure the economic value from the green buildings using the data science. So there are three parts in my presentations. First, small part, sustainability in the what is a sustainability in building and or property values. Second, this is the heart of my presentations, economic premium of the green in property market. I'd like to discuss whole point, investment value of the green buildings and the green buildings certificate, and economic premium in residential market and commercial market. I wrote the several papers related to this topic. Third, what is sustainability in property market again? So let me start my special field, economic measurement. I published the book, Property Price Index. I'm doing the researches in this topic maybe 30 years ago when I was a PhD student. And I established the several automated valuation system using these technologies. And this is a price map. So, this is a price map. Maybe they're around the 1.1 million buildings in Tokyo, and in the world is maybe around the 20 millions buildings, condominiums in Tokyo. So we can forecast it, the prices and rent in each buildings. So this system started to disclose 5 years ago. I also, yes, nice to meet you, Yasmin. I was advisor at the Dubai Land Department, and I forecasted the housing prices in Dubai, and I also forecasted the housing rent in Dubai. So using the big data. So this is my special field. However, and I published the book with my friend. Ed Coulson. He's a star professor in the real estate economics, and maybe he's a professor at the Penn State now, Penn State University. So he published the book Energy Certification and the Future of Real Estate. In future, energy certification or greening is more importantly, and so he focused on the special issue of the energy efficiency or green building technique and so on in this book. I had a responsibility for the chapter 7 is Jiro Yoshida at Penn State. He's my best friend. So we focused on the Tokyo market, economic premiums in the Tokyo market in this book. First sections, sustainability in building, sustainability in building and property values. Low carbon society or zero energy buildings. It is anticipated that increasingly proactive effort will be undertaken on a global goal scale, able at achieving the low carbon society. Japan, however, stated a position opposing to extension of the Kyoto Protocol in 2012. Rex discussed about this point in detail the last session. And one of the likely reasons to impact from the nuclear accident caused by the Great East Japan earthquake in March 2011 has necessitated the major shift in energy policies. Now, European countries or world is facing the big problems from the war between the Ukraine and Russia. Maybe European countries is facing the similar situations in Japan in 2012. So in aiming to achieve the low carbon society, the role that should be played by the property market is no means small ones, maybe 30% CO2. In the case of Japan, the building has a responsibility for the 30% emission for the CO2. Initiative on the global scale towards the realizations of the low carbon society are expected to be carried out, increasingly activity in the future. So the interest green or zero energy buildings continue to rise. And my specialty field, I said, data science, and I'm teaching the mathematics, statistics, and machine learning technique at my university because I'm a professor at the Department of the Data Science. So I tried to estimate the green premium from the property market. What is sustainability? Sustainability research in the real estate market has reached the critical junction, I think. So major part of the academic papers started to publish in the early part of the 21st century. So we also published several papers. This study is also characterized the important limitations. Specific sectors, maybe we focus on the office market, and in specific countries, maybe United States and United Kingdom, and Tokyo, and so on, major cities, and over specific time frames. So what is the sustainability or digitalities in the real estate market? So we have to understand the future investment risk or social risk from the eco-friendly buildings. Why should we focus on the green or energy buildings? The world economy undergone major structural change by the great financial crisis in 2009 and COVID-19 recently. Property investment has run a number of the things as a result of the financial crisis. I attended an important meeting at Brighton in United Kingdom after the financial crisis. Famous fund manager said, we have to select the property very carefully for investing. Before the financial crisis, they invested the major cities or the major district. If there is an office in the city in London, they can easily to invest to the office market. If the condominium in the Manhattan, it is easy to agreement to invest to the condominiums. However, they faced the financial crisis, and condominiums in condominiums in the cities, in condominiums in the Manhattan, and one buildings is not so is not face that did not face the big difficult situations. However, another buildings at the corner of the famous street, this condominium survived. This is the same situations in the office market in city in London. So they understand property levels situation is important. And third, whether or not property is environment friendly or sustainable could become a major investment risk, like before the great financial crisis. And recently we faced the COVID-19 shock, and the COVID-19 creates a new social order. They also requires a new demand on the building, avoid congestion, reduce the contact opportunities to keep space between the people. So we'll face a new social orders based on these problems. Investment value of the green buildings. Economic premium reflects user expectation of the cost saving effect, or if we can find the externalities, positive externalities from the greening buildings, so we can easily to invest to the properties. However, the effect from the greening buildings limited just for the cost saving effect. So it is difficult to agree to invest to the greening buildings. It's a fair green buildings and the non-green buildings. With the whole, we have to understand the economic premium, economic advantages in the greening buildings, I think. So, and is the questions, is the green building certificate or eco-friendly building factor with the high property values? Green building certification or green high score of the green building certificate affect to the prices and rents. Why? So it is difficult to understand the green premiums from the prices and rent, and housing prices or commercial properties, price or rent in the residential properties and the commercial properties can explain not only the green certifications. We have to consider about the location, size, or building age, and the specification of the environment, and the contract term, and so on. So we have to control these characteristics to understand the dynamics. Hedonic approach. This is approach is in the econometric method proposed by the Professor Rosen in 1974. So this method widely used to understand the price mechanism in the not only the properties. The Statistics Commission using the hedonic approach to understand the price mechanisms is the laptop and the digital camera and so on. So this method to estimate the price of the product of the using the statistical techniques that we make mainly the regression analysis. So this price is considered as a derived from the various attributes of the function of the product. If we can run hedonic equations using the condominium prices of the office building rent, so we can identify the green premium using this technique. So prices can explain green level is G, and Xij is building characteristics of the condominium or commercial properties, and NE was the location characteristics of the regions, and how we consider about the household characteristics to understand the budget cost range and so on. So this is a regression formula. So this part is a green building certification part. Beta 9 is a green premiums. So we run these equations using the big data. And the case of the commercial properties, I spoke about the story of the condominiums. Next is I would like to talk about the story to get the green premiums from the commercial property market. Building owner, why building owner invest to the green buildings? So if the greening building can get the good tenant, so they can get the economic advantages through the market. And society, they can contribute to the society. They agree, corporate tenant agree to the environment friendly, so they can pay to the high rent. So this mechanism, we can continue to, we can construct these mechanisms. We can provide the greening building through the market mechanism here. Okay. Market players cannot identify the green building or non-green buildings. Green building certificate support to understand the greening buildings. There are several green building certificate, BREEAM from the United Kingdom and LEED from the United States, CASB in Japan. There are several types of certifications. I would like to discuss about the disadvantage of the advantage in this certification later. I'll skip this part. Maybe I have about maybe 20-50 minutes. Okay. So I'd like to discuss about the economic premiums here. I ran the economic regulations for the condominium Tokyo with my friend Franz First, who's Cambridge University. He's my old friend, maybe 20 years ago, and we are doing the several joint researches for the property market. So we tried to identify the greening buildings, greening premiums in the Tokyo condominium market. This is the models. I skipped the, this is the baseline models. This is we used the asking prices of the condominium and the transaction prices in the condominiums. I combined the two data sources. So this is an asking level. Asking level is the premiums. We can find the 6% premiums in the asking level. However, transaction levels at 0.9 discounted. So in total, transaction-based premium or market premium around 5% in Tokyo market. This is a starting point, or baseline models. We try to understand the time differences with the greening impact. So, and after the collapse of the bubbles, after the great financial crisis, the impact is reduced in 2009, and 2010. This means the usual period, investors, property investors try to pay the additional cost, additional premiums for the greening premium. And however, if we face the great financial crisis, war, and so on, the green premium disappeared based on the big event. This is very important because now we are facing the war between the Ukraine and the Russia, and before the war, a property investor can prepare to pay the green premiums. However, this green premium will disappear based on the energy cost increasing, I think. So I also ran the hedonic regressions in each income levels. High income level can easily to pay the green premiums. However, low income households cannot pay to the green premiums. So the green premium impact is very limited. Luxury market investors can pay to the green premium. However, low or medium property market investors cannot pay for the green premiums. This is a key part of my presentations, our researches. So we called it green is a luxury good. And we also calculated the green premiums in the office market, focus on the energy cost saving. Greening building has energy saving impact. So, and Professor Yoshida from the Penn State, he's also the good friend, best friend. And we got the good data sources with the energy consumption and office building rent. This is the estimated result. Greening building has an impact to the negative impact on the electric usage and a negative impact to the water usages. It's okay. Greening building has an advantage in the save of the green energy cost. We understand. And we also run the regulations using the office rent in Tokyo market. So we can find 20% premiums in the office market for the eco-friendly building or greening buildings. However, we add the electricity usage and the water usages here, green premium disappeared. This means tenant invest to the greening building or greening building office market. However, the purposes of the green tenant to save the energy cost. So there are no positive externalities in the Tokyo office market from the greening buildings certifications. So we found the energy cost impact is a measure of the energy cost impact in the greening buildings. However, there are no positive externalities greening building into office market. Finally, I would like to talk about the sustainability in the property market. What is the sustainability of the properties? Environment, society, governance. We understand ESG is important in social. And however, I spoke about our stories. On March 11, Japan was struck by the major earthquake. Among other things, this generated awareness of the fact that in order to sustain property values, it is necessary to adopt strong measures, not only in terms of earthquake proofing, but also with respect to the water damage or soil liquefaction. Property values suffer from the big earthquake damages during this period. So we found a very interesting measurement from the IPD, Investment Property Data Bank, in UK. Recently, MSCI bought these companies. And the MSCI or IPD have to allowed to consider about not only the energy, water, and waste. We have to take care for the adaptation to the climate changes. Flood risk, it includes the flood risk in United Kingdom. However, in Japan, we have to pay the attention to the earthquake. We have a lot of earthquake damages in the past. Therefore, the priorities is in Japan is earthquake. Next is the ESG. Third to the adaptation to the climate change with the flood risk. We had a big earthquake in 1923, and around the 105,000 people. It killed 105,000 people in Tokyo area. And in 1995, we also had a big earthquake in the West area, Great Hanshin Awaji earthquake on January 17. At that time, I was in Kobe. I have a responsibility for the city development in Kobe. At that time, I had an appointment with the Kobe cities on the January 17th. Big earthquake attacked, and around 60,000 people killed by the fire. And we also had a great East Japan earthquake 2011. We had a big tsunami and fires. So around a lot of the people passed away by tsunami and fires. This is a history of the earthquake. So we have to pay attention to the earthquake or tsunami and so on. There we have to pay the more investment these points to keep the sustainability of the property values. So we invested the several parts in the earthquakes here. Recently, we had a big, heavy rains in Kyushu area. Also, a lot of the people, we had a big damages from the heavy rain or flood risk. We understand we have to pay attention to that water risk. Recently, and sea level rise problems is occurred in the world. So, and the Tokyo area, we have a lot of the this is a Tokyo Special District. Major part of the Tokyo Special District is facing the flood risks. This is the flood risk areas. There are around the 7 million people are living in the risk area in Tokyo. We ran the health regression to understand the damage from the flood risk. We can understand the around the 20% negative impact from the flood risk in these areas. So, in conclusions, we humans have a common serious problems such as global warming and climate changes. The construction sector has a large role to play in addressing these problems. We understand that these problems. In addition, we are increased risk of the encountering the major disaster, earthquake in Japan, heavy rain in the world, wildfire in the West Coast of the United States or several European countries, and Australia. When I was a professor at the National University of Singapore, and we are suffering from the wildfires from the Indonesians. So many friends have been killed by such disasters. The evolution of the building technology can save many future lives. So we have to give attention to this, to distance of the earthquake as heavy rains. Of course, we have to pay attention to the greening buildings or global warming problems. So researches in this field is more importantly in the future property market or future academics, I think. That's top my presentation. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Shimizu Sensei. It was a very interesting talk and presentation, and sometimes it was very surprising, actually. And I was really impressed by one of your results, that there was no positive externalities of green buildings in Tokyo market, according to your regression analysis. And I think maybe it's one of the points that will be discussed later. Now I'm very pleased to give the floor to Arnaud Simon for another presentation, about half an hour, and then we will have the discussion with Yasmin Essafi. Please, Arnaud.
Thank you very much, Raphael. My presentation will be devoted to another subject indicated on the first slide. I'm going to talk about the geographic effect of the monetary and investment policies on the European office market. My presentation has two parts. First, the monetary part. I'm going to present some elements about first the London market, impact of the monetary masses on the London office prices. And the second part will be devoted to the impact of monetary policies, international monetary policies and European monetary policies on office prices in 16 metropoles in Europe, in the European Union. And the second part will be devoted to the effects that are produced by the investor decision, and more precisely the investment decision of the REITs, the real estate investment trust companies. So for the first part, the monetary effect, why should we interest to that topic? Here on that slide, you have represented the evolution of the monetary mass for 4 regions, US, UK, the Eurozone, and China. For China, you have to look at the right axis, and you can see that the monetary masses were multiplied by approximately 6 or 7 in 10 years. So it is a very huge increase for the case of China. For US, UK, and the Eurozone, the increase is more limited, but it stays quite important. For instance, for UK, you can see that between, I hope you see the arrow, I'm using it. Okay. For UK, from between 2004 and 2009, the British monetary mass were multiplied by 2 in less than 5 years. After, it stays globally constant. For the US and the Eurozone, the history is not exactly the same, but the result is the same. In 10 years, monetary masses were multiplied by 2. Simultaneously, we've considered with my co-authors the evolution of the whole value of the office stock in 16 metropoles of the European Union. And when we calculate the total value of the office stock in each of these metropoles between 2009 and 2019, we observe that the total value were multiplied by almost 2. And 2 is also the factor, the multiplicative factor we have on that graph. In 2009, the total value of the offices in these cities were approximately 800,000 billion euros, and 10 years after, it reaches to 1,400,000 billion euros. But as you can see, there are some colors on the table, and the color means that the evolution, the increase of the total value was different from one city to another. In green, you have the city where the total value were multiplied by 2 or more. For instance, if you look at Paris, multiplied by 2 from 200 to almost 400. London, it's approximately the same. And the most important increase is for Berlin, where we have a total value that evolves from 40 billion euros to 160 billion euros. The second group, the metropoles in orange, correspond to evolution of approximately 50% of the initial value of the total stock. And you can see also that we have 4 metropoles in red, where the total value of offices stays almost constant. And it is mainly the southern market with Lisbon, Madrid, Milan, and Roma. In Roma, we even observe a decrease of the total value of the office stock. And to give you the context, and just after I'm going to discuss the effect, the relation between evolution of monetary masses and office prices in London and in Europe, but it is interesting to have in mind the concept, the context, and more precisely, the context of the investment decision today for the institutional investors. For an institutional investors, a pension fund, an insurance company, traditionally they were investing a lot in the bond market. But today, the bond provided by the returns, provided by bonds are very low, or 1%, 2%, 3% in the best case. And the consequence is that we observe directly or indirectly an outflow from the bond markets. So when you are leaving the bond market, you obtain some liquidities, maybe 1-2 billion euro to reinvest. So where are you going to reinvest these liquidities? First, you can consider the stock market, but traditionally the institutional investors are quite risk averse. So because of the volatility of the stock market, they tend to be quite reluctant to invest in the stock market, the liquidity they previously obtained from leaving the bond market. So the arbitrage today is probably in favor of the real estate markets. So for the supply side, we have some investors who are trying to invest their liquidities. And on the demand side, simultaneously, we have a strong demand coming from the metropoles, the regional capitals that need to realize important redevelopment to be relevant for the global side. Numerous metropoles try to become globalized cities. So, and here we have a demand effect. And there is also something that is interesting to consider. It is the regulatory capital requirements. When you invest in an asset, you need to have a certain level of equity, required capital. And the regulation institution are asking to the investors to have a greater capital if they want to invest in the stock market compared to investing in the real estate market. So behind it is the Basel III and the Solvency II context. So there is a supply of money. Stock market is not interesting. In the real estate market, demand is strong, and the legal constraints for investing in the real estate markets are smaller, are more limited than investing in stocks. So the arbitrage for the institutional investor today is quite clear. And what we documented with my co-authors is, of course, if we increase the monetary masses, we should observe, we should be able to demonstrate an effect of the increase of the monetary masses on the office prices. So we first studied the case of London. The London market is a very specific market, and it strongly evolved in 20 years between 2005 and 2015. In 2005, you can observe that UK investors that invested in the London market represented approximately 60% of the investment, and investors coming from the Eurozone, approximately 20%. 10 years after, UK investor plus Eurozone investors represent less than half of the total investment in the London market. So from a domestic market, London became a clearly widely open international market. And here we have a problem if we want to study the impact of the monetary masses due to the unconventional monetary policies of the central bank. And this problem is, which monetary mass should we consider if we want to study the effect of the London market? And the answer is quite simple, all the masses you have on that graphic. For that reason, we build first a monetary index that represents the evolution of the monetary masses for the investors that do invest in London. So we weight the evolution for a given nationality that invests in London of the monetary mass for this nationality. We weight this evolution of the domestic mass by the investment market share from this nationality in the London market. I'm sorry, it is a little bit technical, but I try to be as simple as it could be. Here you have a very complicated formula with the exchange rate, but we are not going to discuss that formula. And the model we implemented is our model on the period 2002-2015, and we try to explain real estate price at a given year by real estate lag price at the previous year, the prime rate, the employment rate, the stock market index, the vacancy rate. Here we have very traditional variables that we are using when we want to explain or to understand something to the office price evolution. And we also add the monetary index, of course, our variable of interest. And for the result, we have an interesting result, because for the whole period, we observe that lag price, employment, stock market, vacancy, and the monetary index are significant with the expected sign. So our model appears as being quite. And the monetary index do have a positive effect and a significant effect on the office prices. We observe it for the whole period. for the sub-period after 2009, but we also observe an interesting phenomenon. It is that on the period 2005-2009, our model and all the variables become non-significant. Even the vacancy rate on that period is non-significant. And we explain that situation not by a bubble, but by an exogenous factor, and more precisely, the Olympic Games of 2012. London applied to the Olympic Games in 2003, obtained it in 2005, and during these years, important redevelopment occurred in the center and in the London metropolis. So our hypothesis is that on that period, 2005, 2009, 2010, actually the expectation and the investment decision of the investors was driven by this redevelopment project and not by the classical fundamental variables for the office building. And we also try to substitute in that model the monetary index by the short interest rates. And we observed at that moment that the short interest rate was non-significant. Probably because the interest rate today are very close to zero. Whereas when we keep the monetary mass, here the monetary effect becomes clearly significant. So it is more interesting, we think, we have this opinion with Mark Cotter, to use today the evolution of monetary mass in the models that try to price office building price and evolution of the building price compared to short interest rate. The second part of this first part is it is actually the same approach for 16 European metropoles. Here we have, you can see the metropoles we consider. You have represented in orange what is called the European megalopole in a broad sense, with Paris and Berlin included. The narrow sense is when we remove these two cities. And here you have also the peripheral markets, mainly the southern market, but we should also have to introduce to add metropoles of the east of Europe, but because of data issue, we can't include these metropoles, but it would be interesting to include these metropoles. To be very simple, we implemented roughly the same model. Evolution of price determined by vacancy, prime rental value, employment, stock market, and the monetary index. And the monetary index here is specific to each city. Each city has its specific monetary index, a kind of tailor-made monetary index for each city. Results are expressed here in terms of elasticity. In the first column, we measure the elasticity of the monetary index to simplify the effect of the international monetary mass at the level of 0.17. When international monetary mass is increased by 1%, office prices in the 16 metropoles increase by 0.70%. And when we substitute in that model the international monetary mass simply by the European monetary mass, here the elasticity becomes greater, multiplied by 3, 4 approximately. When European monetary mass increased by 1%, office prices increased by 0.6%. However, this global effect is not the full story, and we need to disentangle each group of cities in a geographic perspective. For instance, we first consider the largest market with total surface greater than 15 million square meters, and others market, medium or small market, with surface below 15 million square meters. Here you have the elasticity, and you can observe that for the international monetary mass, when it increased by 1%, the largest market, the price of the largest market increased by 0.4%, so a greater increase. On the contrary, small or medium market do not react to the evolution of monetary mass, of the international monetary mass. The small or medium market do not succeed in capturing the liquidity creation in Europe. And when you look at the effect of the European monetary mass, here the result is even stronger. For the largest market, the elasticity is 1.3%. Increase of 1% of the European monetary mass generates an increase by 1.3% of office prices. Here we have even a kind of leverage effect. Whereas for the medium or small market, the effect is clearly smaller. And it has a direct consequence. You can see on the graphic on the right side, the green curve is the evolution of the total value for the others market, medium or small size market, and blue for the largest market. And in approximately 10 years, the spread is approximately 40%. So largest market increase by 40% more compared to others market. And we also try to disentangle the effect across nationality, across countries. And we detected an effect, specific effect for the German market. For the international monetary mass, first table, first part of the table on the left, we established that for France and UK, the elasticity was 0.2. It is the same for the German market in a narrow sense and in a broad sense. Broad sense, we add Brussels, Amsterdam, and Vienna, that are cities that are quite related to the German economy. Whereas for the Southern European market, they don't succeed to capture. They fail to capture international monetary mass. And when you look at the effect for the European monetary mass, the result is also very interesting because there are only the German market in a broad or narrow sense that capture the European monetary mass. And even the London or the Paris market do not capture this liquidity creation. And it is also non-significant for the Southern market. Conclusion of this for this first part, there is a positive relation in Europe between money supply and office prices during this period of 10 years. The finding indicate that the largest market are more able to attract this liquidity, whether they are European or international liquidities. The German market strongly benefits from the European money supply, and the European monetary mass is non-significant for the Southern market. So here we have a very paradoxical effect because the so-called unconventional policies that are lasting from now more than 10 years. So unconventional policies are now conventional policies. They were made essentially to support peripheral markets, mainly Southern market, but we observe that actually they do favor the largest market, especially the German city. So this raised some challenging and economic political issues. Here it is for the first part, and I try to be okay with timing. The second part, we are now going to consider the effect of the investment decision, mainly and more precisely, the effect of the risk allocation decision. So the context for this paper written with Raphaël Languillon, we first try to understand what financialization, urban financialization could mean and what metropolization could mean. These two concepts are contemporary concepts. They appeared in the literature, in the financial urban literature approximately 10, 15 or 20 years ago, but their meanings are quite unclear and their relation is also quite difficult to document. Our case study is the European rates between 20 years in 10 countries. And we chose a definition of financialization that is based on the modern finance theory. And we try to study the link between the financialization degree and the spatial reallocation of the REITs and according to two segmentation, urban core internals and non-urban, within a given metropole, and across metropole between large metropoles, metropole of intermediate size, medium urban areas, small urban areas. Quickly, what is a REIT? REIT is a company that owns building, rent them out, collect rent, pass rent to the investor through dividends. They are listed on the stock market, and during the last 20 years, numerous regimes were transformed with a strong success in the stock market. On the right side, you have the evolution of the total capitalization for the REITs in Europe. Creation and appreciation represent a multiplicative factor of 6 or 7 approximately. Our definition of financialization is very simple. We retain the capital asset pricing model, that is a basic model in the modern finance theory, that explains that the rentability, the expectation for a given company, a REIT, is a function of the rentability of the market. We can re-express that relations by saying that the risk premium for a given company is proportional to the risk premium for the market, and the proportionality coefficient is what is called the beta. Beta has a very interesting interpretation for the issue we are considering. When beta is equal to 0, the price of the stock is decorrelated with the evolution of the global market. Whereas when beta is equal to 1, there is a perfect correlation of the stock value of a given company with the market. So we simply chose to define financialization as a beta increase from 0 to 1 or from 0.2 to 0.5, for instance. During these 20 years, so we studied approximately 100 companies over a period of 20 years, and they own approximately 15,000 buildings. We observed during that period a split between the REITs. Before 2003, the beta of quite all the REITs were close to 0. REITs were decorrelated with the market. Between 2003 and 2007, there is a split in the sense that some REITs stays with a beta equal to 0, whereas another group so its beta jumped from 0 or 0.1 up to 0.6 or 0.7. So we call the blue group as the group of the financialized company, and the orange as the group of the non-financialized company. And then I try to be, and then we study how the REITs of the two groups change their allocation on that period. On the first part, on the above part of this table, we have the group of the financialized company, and the lower part of the non-financialized company. Globally, we observe that for the financialized company, over that period, they tend to disinvest the non-urban spaces in favor of the core urban, of the urban core. For instance, the phenomenon is quite clear in Germany because they decrease their allocation by 7% in favor of the urban core that increase in their portfolio approximately by 9%. There are some exceptions in Belgium and Germany, but globally there is this kind of movement for the financialized company within a metropole. When we look at the non-financialized company, here the evolution is a little bit different because they also disinvest the non-urban spaces in favor not of the urban core, but this time in favor of the internet, with some countries that are very representative of that movement, but there is also some exception. And the second segmentation, segmentation is the relocation between the large metropole, the metropole of intermediate size, medium urban area, and small urban area. For the financialized company, the global situation, the global arbitrage is not very clear. We can find countries where investors tended to invest the largest metropole, for instance, Germany and it is UK. and they disinvest other spaces. But there are also some exceptions. For instance, in Belgium, investors who invested in Belgium disinvest Brussels in favor of the smaller size of the intermediate metropoles and smaller and urban spaces. But the main phenomenon of this table, the most interesting, is for non-financialized companies, where they clearly disinvest the large metropoles and they try to, and they invested the metropole of intermediate size and other kind of urban size, and with some exception, with a phenomenon that is clearer for here it is in Switzerland and France. So at last, I just have 3 slides. We also try to check if our definition of financialization was relevant with the financial literature, because in the financial literature, we can consider that a good company from the financial point of view is a company that succeeds in integrating quickly the information in its stock price. And it is documented that several factors are important to help integrating information in stock price. So we build an index based on 7 or 8 factors in the financial literature. And we try to observe if between our financialized group and non-financialized groups, this index was had an explaining power, and it do have an explaining power. Our definition is quite relevant. And we also try to better quantify the effect. Just to give you an example, when REITs increase its exposition to the small urban areas from 20% of its portfolio up to 40% of its portfolio, we can, for instance, quantify that its beta is going to decrease by 34%. So here a clear relation, and we have the same kind of result for other spaces. In conclusion, financialization and metropolization appears to be closely related. And for the financialized REITs, they have an easier access to capital, so they can better choose their buildings, the less risky and the more profitable buildings. And they, in a sense, non-financialized company choose the rest. And here you have a kind of splitting of the roles, of the financial role and simultaneously of the urban role. And this also has some consequences in the macro-prudential point of view. It means that urban core and large metropoles are more correlated today to financial markets, whereas for hinterland, non-urban spaces, intermediate metropoles, small and urban area, the exposition to the stock market risk is maybe smaller. Here it is for the presentation.
Thank you very much, Arnaud, for your presentation. Also very interesting. So now I'm letting the floor to Yasmin.
Thank you, Raphael, for inviting me to discuss these articles. Thank you, Professor Shimizu and Professor Arnaud as well for your work. Let me start by saying that both of you have an incredible database. The database you're using are incredibly rich, and I think that it's very satisfying to work on this kind of databases, and also for me as a reader and as a researcher, it's I mean, I was extremely satisfying knowing that the amount of data you could deal with. And when you started, Professor Shimizu, explaining that you are more linked to the AI, to data science, I mean, I got many responses. So thank you for giving me the opportunity actually of reading such articles. I have many questions for both of you. Many of them are clarification. So I read your papers. One general question for both of you. I will ask all my questions and I will let you answer after. So one common question for both of you. What kind of prices are you using? I know that are for Professor Shimizu, transaction prices, transaction-based prices, but the questions still remain the same. Are you using prices without inflation. Why I'm asking you this question? Because in both works, actually, we can see, or we can say that any increase in price, for example, for you, Professor Shimizu, when you are using the repeat sales method, the use so for rental contracts before and after the acquisition of the green label, how do you isolate or how do you control for the effect of timing actually on the potential natural rental increase? Are you using deflated prices or no? And same also for Professor Arnaud, when you are talking about money supply, we know that any increase in the money supply has two direct effects. The first one is the increase of reserves, the commercial bank deposit, etc. So it will increase the loans and it will increase potentially the demand for real estate. And the second effect is to increase the inflation. And when we talk about increase of inflation, naturally we have this increase in prices and in particular in the real estate price. So both of you, are you using prices net of inflation? This is one common question. I will ask my other questions. I will start by Professor Shimizu. I have written so many questions. Okay, one general question. The word luxury. In my opinion, and as a reader, I was expecting to know more about luxury houses that are at the same time ecolabeled. So which was not the case. Actually, we are not talking about luxury houses as I may understand. So this point is not clear. It's not clear because I understood that you linked only the word luxury to upmarket houses, but at the same time, ecolabeled. This point is not clear, and I want you please to clarify, especially that this point is mentioned in the title of the paper, and we find this word only 3 times. The occurrence of the word luxury is only 3 in the paper. So another general remark for Professor Shimizu. With both of your papers, we have a great coverage actually of different types of assets. We have at the same time residential assets, and we have the office markets, so which is good. And also we have different type of tenancy. We have the landlord and we have the renters. However, do you think that the behavior of a renter, but not for a office market, let's say a house renter, will be the same than a landlord of a house and vice versa, meaning that a landlord of an office market will be the same? I mean, are they willing to pay a greater premium if they are renter or landlord? And what is the difference, in your opinion, between the residential market and the commercial market? This is a general remark. Yes, another general remark. I note that the green label is not yet mandatory and is left to the decision of the building's owner. It means naturally that renting a green labeled building is also left to the discretion of the renters. So in that sense, I do believe that including characteristics of renters, of office renters, will have an impact on the premium level, because companies want to drive some image, want to show their position towards sustainability. They want to show their sustainability commitment, their responsibility, etc. So in that sense, I feel that not having characteristics of companies, of renter companies, is missing here, because I'm quite sure that the level of the green premium will be varying according to the characteristics of the renter. What else? I have other things. Yes, in one of your paper, you said that you have, I think, 3 green labels, if I'm not wrong. Yes, 3 or 5 green labels. And I was wondering, is there any I mean, what is the spread of each green label in the sample? Is there any overrepresentation of a particular label or not? I know that you could use it interchangeably. The results were quite similar, but what is the distribution of these green labels in your sample? Yes, the question behind this is if there is any overrepresentation of one green label, what does it mean? Does it mean that this green label is more affordable for landlords? Does it mean that this green label is more easily reachable or not? And in that case, if it is the case, actually, if we have one easier green label than the other one, it means that the landlord necessarily won't, it won't impact so much the green premium. You understand what I mean? If it is not hard to get this label, there is no reason to have a higher premium. And here maybe, yes, one of the practical contribution I would say from this paper is you can promote one label over another one by showing, for example, a higher green premium exhibited by this label instead of the other ones. So this is another question. You segmented your sample into 5 clusters using the propensity score clustering technique. But do you have any geographical representation of your 5 clusters? Is there any geographic or locational bias that appear, even though you are working in one single city? I know that the difference, the geographical difference won't be so important, but at least can we say, clear clustering among these five groups? I have too many questions left. So you said also that, it was very interesting to read, so that's why I'm having many questions. So you said that the green premium is buried when it comes actually to prime markets, knowing that this prime market actually and all the characteristics they are endowed with, they are willing to attract people. However, you said that the PSM displayed a green premium for the prime market rather than the affordable market. How can you explain this? Because you are giving an explanation, and the result is a little bit opposite to the explanation. You are affirming that the prime market has its own inherent characteristics that will attract people, okay? But at the same time, we do not see this this green premium in the more affordable market. Yes, and from your presentation, from your PowerPoint presentation, actually, we understood. We know it, but we measure now also the nature of the territory you are working in. So being ecolabeled or responding to some construction requirements, etc., should not be considered anymore as an option, actually. So in your opinion, is this leading to a decrease of the premium related to these labels and to these certifications and to this construction requirement, etc.? And last question for you, Professor Shimizu. How could you predict rents in Dubai? The market is so volatile. What are your inputs? I want to understand this market. So if we can talk about it later, it would be great. So many questions for Professor Shimizu. Professor Arnaud, also I enjoyed reading your 3 papers, incredibly rich database with a very good coverage in terms of towns, cities, etc. Still, it's only in Europe, but it's interesting to see this difference. So my question, my first one, except the inflation in prices. You included London in two different research papers. Did you get any result conflicts? So this is the first question. Second question, you are talking about the financialization. May you clarify to me, is financialization proxied by the increase of beta? So this is the first question. The higher the beta is, the higher financialized listed company. And if it's the case, and knowing that you are using for different cities, which market, what is your reference index market you are using? What is your reference market index, sorry, you're using in order to compute your different betas for these different cities? If you are using only one, isn't more relevant to use different beta for these different cities or not? Because one market, or I mean, let's say Paris is highly correlated with, I don't know what is your reference index, maybe, let's say S&P 500, okay? So maybe France will, no, it's not, but what I'm sure about is that any country will exhibit a higher beta if we use a local reference market index. If we use CAC 40 for Paris, the beta will be higher. If you use, what is for German, DAX, if the beta of Germany will be higher, etc. So what's your strategy about this beta? And also from the literature, is there any other measurement of financialization of companies? I know that you did the robustness check of using beta, etc. How well is the information integrated? But is there any other measurement that we can use in order to say that, or in order to affirm that here we have a financialized company, listed company, and here we don't have. Yes. What about Brexit? Do you think that it's willing to change the levels of effects on UK real estate? I mean, the increase in money supply, will it have exactly the same impact before and after the Brexit? Also, do you think that the percentage of foreign investors has an impact on offices prices? Because you presented the table with the percentage of foreign investors. Do you think that the increase of foreign investors will have a higher impact or is associated necessarily with a higher increase in prices or not? And what is the part, in your opinion, of offers prices increase that you attribute to the change of investors' behaviors and not only to the increase of money supply? Because we can have a higher demand because of money supply, but we can also have higher demand because the investment behaviors, we are shifting our investment from one asset class to another. So what is, in your opinion, the level, or to which level this can impact the office prices increase?
Thank you very much, Yasmin. I'm always amazed by your ability to point out all the details that which need clarification. So maybe we can give the floor to Professor Shimizu first, and then Arnaud will answer. So Shimizu Sensei, please, you can pick up the questions, not answer everything, of course.
Okay. Thank you for good questions, Yasmin. I very enjoyed your questions and I learned a lot from your questions. So first questions, price changes or price inflations. If we try to understand the price inflation, price changes, we have to understand the price changes and the changes in prices and changes in the quality or characteristics. So if we run the repeat sales regressions, in this case, we have to control the innovation impact and the depreciation impact between the two periods. So, and we ran hedonic regressions to control the time dummy. So, and the characteristics. So we try to identify the green premiums using hedonic regressions and not to use the repeat sales regressions. Of course, it is very important point to understand the price inflations between the two periods. So based on this framework, second question, we tried to understand the green premium in the residential market. We can observe property prices in the market. However, we can't observe bid rent prices from the buyers, and we can't observe the offer prices from the suppliers or builders. So we can just only observe the house property prices. We have to understand the background of the bid rent prices and from the buyers and the bid offer prices from the suppliers. So we try to understand the bid rent through to control the household characteristics. We send the questionnaire to buyers to grasp the data of the income and education and the number of the household and so on. So, and the household income is a key factor to distinguish the market. Mm-hmm. So we found the price. We understand the segmentation of the residential market is important to understand the green premiums. Low and middle income household is facing the strong budget constraint. So they hope to expand the space. They have to buy more convenient prices. So they can't pay attention to the green premiums based on the strong budget constraint. Luxury people, high income people can, yes, they had already getting the good suitable price spaces and convenient prices and so on. So they can invest to the additional attribute. It includes the green premium, I think. So we called it the luxury goods in the green premium is the luxury goods in the residential market in Tokyo. This is the second part. And the third point is the commercial property market. Why building tenant pay the high rent? Of course, and Starbucks and McDonald's is very close to the consumer. So if they are allowed to pay attention to the green premiums, they get customers will go to the Starbucks and the McDonald's. So consumers related high consumer familiar industry have a motivation to have an incentive to pay a more high rent to rent the green buildings, I think. And on the other side, the residential market, and there are two in the rental market, in the housing market. There are two types of the contract, rollover contract and a new contract. Mm-hmm. So a major part of the contract is coming from the rollover contract. Rollover contract have a strong stickiness. They don't have any chance to pay the green premium from the rollover contract. So there are no green premium in the major part of the housing rent market in Japan. So just the new contract and the prices, we can mm-hmm. find the new green premiums in just the new tenant is changes. The timing of the tenant changes and the prices. This is a residential market, residential rent market in Tokyo. And distribution. Okay, thank you so much for reading my papers. We ran the propensity matching methodology to understand the pure green premiums. We ran the propensity matching technique, and we cluster the 5 clusters. Okay, first cluster is a luxury market, a prime market. Mm-hmm. So if green premium will generate in the market, suppliers, landowner or building owner started to rent high rent. And building demand side, renters pay the high rent attentions. So we can match the high, we can achieve the high rent from the green premiums. However, prime market prime market has a high, everyone knows, new prime office building have a high energy efficient energy performance. So building owner don't need to get the green certifications to pay the additional cost. So there are no impact in the prime market, no impact from the green labels to the green premiums in the prime market. Second tier market. So the quality of the building is a heterogeneity. So good performance, good performance buildings and poor performance buildings. The building owner have a incentive to get the green certifications to allow the green performance. So we can find the green premium in the second tier market. So we ran the propensity matching and we cluster the 5 clusters using this method. I would like to discuss about the future Dubai market after the discussion, after the response with Anoy, because it's a macroeconomic topics. I have several comments from I have several comments and questions to the Anoy. I would like to discuss, including this point, my points.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Arnaud, the floor is yours for answers.
Yes, maybe we could organize in the next years another seminar in Dubai. I don't know.
Sure.
Yes, about the type of data for the paper about monetary effects, we used the IPD and now MSCI indexes, so appraisal-based index. And we, of course, control by the lag price because we know that appraisal indexes are affected by lagging, smoothing, etc. So we corrected for that bias. The inflation effect, actually, on the period we studied, inflation was quite close to 1 or 2%. There was no inflation. It would be probably very different to do now this kind of study. About the conflict between the result, I didn't check, but I think it is not the case, and I hope it is not the case.
Yes.
But I would say it would be very strange if we can detect a positive effect for London in the VAR model and negative in the panel data model. It would be a surprise.
What about the time period? Is it exactly the same time period of studying or not?
Not exactly. 2004, 2015 for the first London, and for Europe, 2009, 2018, approximately 3 or 4 years of difference.
Yes, of lagging, yeah.
But yes, the main difference is around the date 2015, that is the beginning of the quantitative easing at the ECB. So, yes. But maybe it didn't affect directly the London office market. I'm not sure, it's a hypothesis. About the beta, yes, it is the beta respective to the local index. So for France, the CAC 40, for Germany, the DAX, etc. We could have used a global index, but as we know that the stock markets are highly correlated, I'm not sure the result would have been different. About the other definition of financialization, yes, but it stays unclear, fuzzy. Financialization is something that everybody is talking about, but giving a clear definition or a simple definition is almost to see the Loch Ness monster, you know. Everybody talks about the definition of financialization, yes, but no one never saw it.
Yeah, or give a clear measurement of it, maybe.
Yes.
Like there is no universal way to measure the degree
No.
of financialization.
No, but we choose the basic model of modern finance theory, CAPM, capital asset pricing model, and we can observe things, and these things are interesting to explain. They correspond to urban movement. So there is there are some clues about the relevance of this choice. Our next question, yes, about the Brexit. Yes, I'm not sure that it is the nationality of the investors that produce the effects. For instance, in Germany, German markets are at a high level domestic markets. They are the market that increase now the most. Or maybe I didn't check the foreign investor part increase simultaneously, but in my opinion, I would say that they stay still quite very domestic. So
they are around 30 to 45% of foreign investment actually in Hamburg, Frankfurt, Düsseldorf.
Yes.
Between 30 and 44%.
And as we are in a globalized economy, I'm not sure that nationality is the.
But it's not about nationality, Professor Arnaud. It's more about the level of foreign investment. Actually, my question is, do you think that the percentage of foreign investment has also an impact on the increase of office prices? Do we have necessarily this positive relationship with a higher percentage of foreign investment and with a higher increase in office prices? This is my question more specifically.
Can you reformulate your question? There was
yes.
The connection was bad during a few seconds.
No problem. We have a table here showing the stock values between 2009 and 2019. Over 10 years, we have this evolution of stock values, and here you put here you put the different colors: green, orange, and red. This is very clear why we have green, orange, and red. And then in the column after, you put the percentage of foreign investments. So my question is related to this degree of foreign investment. Does it have any impact also on the office prices increase?
Yasmin, are you talking about the home country biases?
About the home country investment biases? Yes, it can be also thought within this framework of home investors biases. But just the level of foreign investment. For example, Professor Arnaud, why you gave us this information? Why you thought that is relevant?
Because it is, if the foreign investment in a city is close to 20% and the rest domestic, we could simply use the local monetary mass.
Okay. Okay, so now I understand why you put this information actually.
Yes. The last question was about the difference between behavior and monetary mass evolution. Quite difficult question, yes. I'm not sure that we can and we could and we should split behavioral and macroeconomic evolution. For instance, the unconventional monetary policies is raised by the central bank of the bonds. And so it affects the decision of the investors. Okay, the investors no more like investing in bonds, but it is due to a macroeconomic policy. So I'm not, we can split it. And I think it was the last question.
Yeah, so for you, in your opinion, the shift of interest from financial or purely financial classes to the real estate classes is only about monetary policies, or it can be also due to other motivations?
It is an arbitrage. Return on the bond market is close to zero. The investing in stocks for institutional investors because of their risk aversion is not very interesting. So what does it last? What lasts, it is the real estate market, and simultaneously metropoles are lacking of capital. They want institutional investor to invest here to redevelop Tokyo, for instance, Paris, etc. So there is a supply, there is a demand. Other markets are not interesting for various reasons. So there is a map.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmin, for all the questions and all the point of discussion. I think it was very relevant, and now it's clearer. And thank you for Shimizu Sensei and Professor Simon for their answer. We are at the end of the session. I'm very, very pleased about what we have heard today. Thank you very much, Shimizu Sensei, for your presentation. Also, Arnaud Simon for yours. Thank you very much, Yasmin Esafi, for your discussion. I know that you are beginning your new position at the American University at the Emirates, so you are very busy as you are, at the first year, but you accept to be the discutant, and I feel very pleased you did that. So thank you very much. Thank you to the audience, and we will continue the discussion tomorrow with the session about aging in Japan and Europe. So have a good night or a good end of day, and see you very soon.